So if you did come to church this morning, this Trinity Sunday, hoping for a sermon which finally made sense of the mystery of the Trinity, you may go away disappointed. But the Holy Trinity will be interwoven into what I'm going to talk about. If you came hoping for a glimpse, however, into one of the most heart, mind and spirit expanding chapters of the Bible, one that reminds us about God's transcendence and intimate concern for each one of us, then this is for you. We've dipped into the 40th chapter of the prophecy of Isaiah, but please go away and read all of it. And if you can, there are Bibles around the church, turn to it now. You'll find it on page 687. The idea from Celtic spirituality of thin places has become a popular one in recent times. You may have read or heard about it. And it describes a place where heaven seems very close and we're very conscious of God's presence. Often these can be places of great natural beauty, charged with the grandeur of God, yet at the same time, places where we can hear God's still, small voice speaking to us. Isaiah is taking us to this kind of place in this chapter, and it is always a privilege and a joy to be physically and spiritually in that kind of place. You might want to take yourself in your imagination to such a place you've known right now. But the good news is that we don't actually need to travel far to find such places. We can find them in the words of this chapter, and, if we come expectantly, any time when we come to church. So in the chapter, on the one hand, in the first section we read, we're confronted by the transcendence of God, his being above and beyond the material world. And on the other, in the second part, he meets us in a personal and intimate way. We may need one more than the other here this morning, but we certainly need both in our ongoing walk with God. So from verse 12 onwards, our transcendent God, who we were just singing about between the readings, is described. What do we learn about him? Firstly, he's effortlessly in control of an ordered creation, measuring, holding, and weighing, in verse 12, are very everyday activities. But this is how Isaiah conveys to us the effortless power of God. Secondly, he is beyond our comprehension. On some days of the week, I think I've almost grasped the 11th century St. Anselm's famous proof of the existence of God, which runs something along these lines. It is not possible for anything greater than what we can imagine or conceive to exist. So since we can conceive of an omnipotent God, he must exist. But this only takes us so far. We see the evidence of his existence, but we cannot fully understand him, as verse 13 reminds us. Yet the wonder of this chapter as a whole is the reminder that this same God reveals himself to us, meets us, and cares about us. And thirdly, firstly, he was effortlessly in control of an ordered creation. Secondly, beyond our comprehension. And thirdly, he's all-knowing. Isaiah is here apparently consciously mocking the Babylonian creator god Marduk, who needed a second opinion from the all-knowing Ea before he could proceed with creation. Our God needs no teacher or second opinion. The most profound and complex discoveries of science to God are like children showing a loving parent a simple drawing or a tune on the recorder. But God delights in us as we delight in him, just like a parent or grandparent with a child. And what are the answers to the 5 times repeated question, who? In this first section we read. Who has measured the waters? God alone. Who has held the dust of the earth? God alone. Who has understood the mind of the Lord? Only God himself. Whom did the Lord consult to enlighten him? No one. Who was it that taught him knowledge? No one. This is God's transcendence. In so many ways, he stands above, beyond and outside our comprehension and invites the worship expressed in the song we sang a few moments ago. But why is Isaiah talking about God like this here? It can't be a coincidence that so often in the Psalms, and of course at the end of the book of Job, the answer in the Old Testament to our bewilderment, pain, and disorientation is to point to the power of God in creation. Not as an indifferent response to suffering, but a call to trust and faith. The God who's made an awe-inspiring world will ultimately heal and restore, and has already shown us in Jesus the depth of his love on the cross. That line from Graham Kendrick's song, The Servant King, hands that flung star into space to cruel nails surrendered, is a line that should always bring us up short. And this whole chapter switches between these two aspects of the character of God, his transcendence and his intimate involvement with us. It's as if all the time Isaiah knows that we need to hear and hold on to both. Just before the section we're looking at, we read this in 2 consecutive verses. See, the sovereign Lord comes with power. And then immediately afterwards, he tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young. Then before we move on, at the end of the first section we're looking at, have a look at verse 17. It perhaps seems a little troubling, and I don't want to pretend it isn't there. Does God really regard the nations as worthless? Are they really no more than dust? Isn't this a bit inconsistent with a God who cares? I think there are two answers to this. God is certainly not impressed by nationalistic pride, or what is currently being called Christian nationalism. There's a verse in another hymn we sing which is a very apt commentary on this. Pride of man, or woman, and earthly glory, sword and crown betray his trust. What with care and toil he buildeth, that's what we buildeth, as it were, tower and temple fall to dust. But God's power, hour by hour, is my temple and my tower. And secondly, the Old Testament only glimpses eternity dimly and is very conscious of the transience of human earthly existence. The New Testament tells us the end of the story, but both remind us, individually and as nations, that our only ultimate security is in God. And now we come to the wonderful climax of this chapter. Isaiah turns back with a final glance in verse 28 at God's omnipotence and transcendence, to God's intimate concern for us as his people. It's a pastoral answer to the really important question, where is God when life doesn't seem to make sense? Isaiah imagines his reader saying, my way is hidden from the Lord, my cause is disregarded by my God. This chapter and these final images remind us that our emotions go up and down, but God's love is unwearying and constant. They invite us to see the bigger picture, both God's sustaining work in creation and the intimate smaller picture, the promise of strength to the weak and weary, transcendence and intimacy again. God has the power and strength to create and sustain the universe. He's not going to give up on us. We're called to hope in or wait on the Lord, remembering that biblical hope is not wishful thinking, but certainty. Hope does not disappoint us because God has poured out his love into our hearts by the Holy Spirit, whom he's given us, as Paul says in Romans. And some of the best ways to keep that hope alive are by daily prayer and Bible reading, asking to be filled daily with God's Spirit, spending time with other believers at church Sunday by Sunday, in home groups, or at the regular prayer meetings led here by Trish or David. And what might it look like to be given strength and power when we're weary? Isn't it having a friend or family member or church community who come alongside us in challenging times? Having someone who takes an interest in what we're doing for God and encourage us to keep going, or who's able to equip or support us in some practical way? Knowing someone or a community who provide hospitality and a space for rest. Or perhaps we are being called to be that someone. And just in case we go away from this morning ready to sit down and just have a nice rest, or try out paragliding off Coombe Hill in an attempt to be like the eagle in the chapter, or the red kites, let's make sure we don't miss the real reason why God refreshes and restores us. We're meant to keep walking and keep running. We're meant to be living out the Great Commission of Matthew 28, which was our gospel reading. We should be going out and making disciples and pointing people to Jesus, the cornerstone we were hearing about last week. All the power and authority we see ascribed to God the Father in Isaiah are also to be ascribed to God the Son. So his teachings carry that same authority, and his Spirit empowers us to obey him. So, did we come to church this morning already able to look in awe at God's power and transcendence, but not knowing we can seek his refreshment and empowering through a personal relationship with him? Or perhaps you've never seen God in either of those ways. If so, please talk to someone before you go home this morning. And let's all pray for a fresh vision of God's awesome power and his deep love for each one of us.
It's lovely to see so many of you here today. There's lots happening over the next couple of weeks. At 12 o'clock, I'm going to be baptising Lily and her dad, Ben. And one or two of you may know Ben. He's got a gardening business around the village and grown up here. So it's wonderful that he's decided he wants to be baptised as well. Then next Sunday, we go back to 9 o'clock and 10:45, all the way through to virtually the end of July. But at the 10:45 next week, we're going to baptise George. And George is hiding behind a pillar. No, he's not. There he is. He's waving away. George's mum and dad, Sophie and Graham, got married here 17, 18? And George has come around on Easter Day, came up to me and he said, "Sally, I want to be baptised." So we talked about it, we agreed that it would be next Sunday, and we shook hands on it. So we have a deal. So if you're here at 10:45, come and be with George. And then the following Sunday at 5 o'clock, we've got the Wendover Deanery confirmation. I think there are now 19 candidates that are coming for that. Two are from our church. One is Christina, who's sitting over there. Christina was baptised by Nadine last year, and she's going to be confirmed. And the other is Zerka, Jack's wife, who's in the Ukraine at the moment, getting her PhD signed off, I think. So she will be back for that. So if you can be around, the others are then from Great Missenden, the Lee and Aston Clinton. So please be praying for all of those people over this time. Later on, Paul and Tim and I are going to go to Oxford for Bishop Stephen Croft's final service, as he will literally lay down his crozier as the end of his time of being the Bishop of Oxford. So be praying for him and his wife Anne as well. If you came into church this time last week, it looked a little bit different. In fact, amazing that going from a week past Wednesday, when stuff started to come in and go out, the chairs were all moved, we came about 5 o'clock on Tuesday. You wouldn't have noticed the difference. It was wonderful. So many people worked so hard. This place was full of over 90 artists. The counting and the calculations are still going on, but we think we took £55,000. Obviously, a lot of that is on the art, so a lot of that goes to the artists, but we do get a percentage of it. And then those who worked in the cafe relentlessly, making, I don't know how many cups of tea and coffee, and serving lots and lots of ploughmans. And then those who worked on the bar, hundreds of glasses of Pimm's and wine. The beautiful weekend meant that people really wanted to enjoy being here. And so many remarked on what a wonderful church, wonderful use of the church, and what fantastic hospitality that they received. So if you've read the update, I've tried to put all the jobs on it. I might have missed some out. And if you did any of those, or contributed by baking a cake, whatever, thank you so much. But the person who we really have to thank for masterminding it and bringing her committee along with her is Deborah, who's sitting at the back. So thank you, Deborah. David's been working hard over May, talking about Christian Aid in different churches here, and cycling 81 kilometres on Wednesday when it was pretty warm. So he's raised... What's your number up to now, David?
About 2,450, but if you add on the gift aid, it's gone over 3,000.
It has gone over now, so well done. If you still would like to contribute and go on the update, there's a QR code or a link to doing that. But thank you. And just looking ahead a little bit more, at the end of June, there's a concert here on the 27th. That's the Wendover Singers, although I well suspect there's nobody really here to ask. I wouldn't be surprised if the tickets have already gone for They are sold out. I thought that might be the case. So if you didn't get a ticket for that, you can come to Halton at 7:30 for music in quiet places for something very, very different. And Jack is promoting Shine, which is the holiday programme, the week it's about the 17th of August. 3 days of children coming, and he needs support for that. So again, if you're able to help and you get the update, use that link or have a word with me or Jack. He's on a pilgrimage at the moment and back today, so he'll be around tomorrow. I think that's everything. Natalie.
We're going to be starting back with afternoon teas 2 weeks today. We're going to do them on the 2nd and the 4th Sunday, June, July, August, September, 2:30 to 4:30. Yeah, 2:30 to 4:30. We've got some cakes left over from the Arts Festival, so we're okay for the first couple of sessions. But if you would like to help with cakes towards sort of like probably the latter end of July onwards, that would be phenomenal. If you happen to be connected with any local walking groups or cycling groups, also let me know, because I'd love to connect with them. So if they're passing on the Ridgeway, they can pop in for some cake and tea.
You hold the oceans in your hand. You know the stars and call their names. Even the weary understand. Your quiet whisper fans the flames. You give strength to those who fall. We will run and not grow tired. Father, Spirit, Son are all with your endless hope inspired. So we will walk and not grow faint. We will walk and not grow faint. Keep on walking.